the water would run off, causing enormous erosion canyons. Just south of Houston, Texas, they had a flood several years ago in New Braunfels, Texas. The water went roaring over as it flooded and overflowed its dam and caused incredible erosion. If you fly out west and just look at some of the erosion patterns, it's unbelievable how much erosion this planet has had. You see the three gossips here, the rock spires sticking up out of the ground, or the penguins, or go see the Arches National Park in Utah, or Bryce Canyon. You see these rocks sticking straight up out of the ground. They'll tell you it takes millions of years to erode all this stuff. Yes, boys and girls, millions of years of erosion. I don't think so. That's in my backyard. There's my ink pen on top of it. I had a pile of dirt out there, got rained on one time, and it made erosion marks. Here's millions of years of erosion along a highway built a few months ago. There's millions of years of erosion. No, I don't think so. I think that's my glasses sitting right there. Erosion can take place quickly. There's obviously great erosion marks in Washington and Idaho from the Missoula flood. There was an ice dam. I believe this would happen after the real flood of Noah's time, maybe a few hundred years later. Ice caps are melting back, but a big bunch of water got trapped, all of a sudden released itself, shot down to Portland, Oregon, did incredible erosion. Along the way, there's a waterfall, one of the largest waterfalls in the world, called Dry Falls, Washington. But there's no water going over this waterfall. Totally dry. But when it was flowing, it was probably bigger than all the waterfalls in the world put together. You can study about Dry Falls, Washington, if you want to read more on that. It's also interesting to notice, nearly all the mountain ranges in the world follow the coastlines. As Walt Brown mentioned in his hydroplate theory, that's probably because they formed at the same time as the result of the same event. The mountains arose, the valleys sank down. The flood in Texas, the Guadalupe River flooded, had 30 inches of rain in 1 week. Water overflowed the spillway and did unbelievable damage to that area around, this city when the dam overflowed. It carved a canyon a mile long, 50 feet deep, and hundreds of yards wide through solid limestone rock. Guadalupe River residents rebuilding after flood losses. Interesting. 70 feet deep in some places. Now keep in mind, it carved this through solid rock. One flood, little bitty flood, 30 inches of rain in 1 week. Bent rock layers are also found all over the world. These bent rock layers indicate the rock was bent while it was soft. If you bend hard rock, it's going to shatter and make little fracture lines all along the curves. I was in Crystal Cove State Park in Los Angeles. I saw these bent rocks. I went up to get a picture up real close. The closer I got, the more confusing it is because there are no fracture lines. All these dozens and dozens of layers were still soft mud while they were bent, and then it hardened. All the layers you see in the earth that are bent were all soft at the same time. They are not different ages. A friend of mine's a pilot. He sent me this picture. He said, Brother Hovind, as we fly over Grand Canyon, off to the sides of the canyon, there are sinkholes. The water runs into these holes and goes down, who knows how far, and then squirts out the side of the canyon into Grand Canyon. Well, if it keeps eroding away that sinkhole, it's going to eventually wash out and make another side canyon. After the flood in Noah's time, the surface would dry out first, leaving the inside still soft, muddy ground, which would slowly dry out. As it dries, it shrinks and contracts, causing wrinkling on the surface. As mountains lifted up, it would cause metamorphic rock to be formed. This formed, I believe, during and after Noah's flood.